I'm here this morning with the 2019 Jaguar E-Pace. This is the SE model, the entry level with the 2-liter turbocharged engine set to low boost. It makes about 246 horsepower and 269 pound-feet of torque. This E-Pace is mated to a 9-speed ZF transmission, and it's all-wheel drive. It also has a really cool little Jaguar projection down by the mirror. It's a mother Jaguar and a baby Jaguar. Super adorable. I love it. Inside you have some pretty nice bright LED interior lighting. I think it lights up these seats really well. I like the white, the contrast with the blue. Pretty nice in materials inside and out. The leather's soft. Everything feels nice and high quality. This new E-Pace has kind of a minimalist interior, and it references a little bit to the F-Type. You've got this hold bar here, and these kind of large slabs on the dashboard. It's a very attractive look, but also very simple of a design, and I think very effective. There isn't a ton of room in the back seat, but vertically there's quite a bit of headroom, and of course you do have this panoramic sunroof above, and that kind of carries through the theme of this whole car. It's short but tall, and kind of gives you that higher driving position from a lot of compact SUVs that you're getting these days. Think of this as the smaller baby F-Pace. So, looking at the reverse camera at night, we're in a pretty dark parking lot. Pretty nice high resolution, not terribly grainy. This carries over in the day too. We also have some parking sensors that turn on when we're near an object, and those will fill the whole screen. I'm also going to do a daytime video. I'll show you just a little bit more of the interior, take a little bit more of a tour when you can actually see things. But for now, let's take this thing on a little bit of a drive. The headlights on this car are really quite nice. They don't turn, but they do illuminate the road pretty well. They're nice and bright. This does have an auto bright high beam feature. Doesn't seem to work terribly well. It only kicks on for a minute, but to be perfectly honest, I've mostly been driving this on city streets and in an urban environment, so it's not the best test for this. Pretty nice quick shifts from this 9-speed ZF transmission. It's a smooth unit between shifts, and it's pretty smooth the rest of the time, except for when you're in comfort mode. For some reason, comfort is a little bit jerky. That's kind of this. You have a few different driving modes. You have rain, ice, snow, eco mode, comfort, and dynamic, which is the sportiest mode, and the gauges turn red. But for some reason, just with the transmission and the throttle tuning in this car, comfort is a little bit jerky and a little bit rough. So I've mostly been driving it around in eco, and I found that to be a really pleasant daily driving mode for this car. But for the most part, it's a really smooth, really pretty refined driving experience, and in parentheses, in eco mode. It reminds me a little bit of the XC40 in the way that Jaguar has built a quality item in an entry-level vehicle, but they haven't really sacrificed the feel and the premium nature of the car. So they've done a really good job injecting kind of the feel of Jaguar Land Rover into this. This is very Land Rover-esque in its design, and of course the infotainment's pretty much the same look and feel and graphic design. But it feels nice. It feels premium, though. All the materials and the touch points and your inputs are met with just a feeling of quality and solidity, and it's also a very attractive car once we can see it in the daytime. If I were to compare this to the BMW X2, I would say BMW hasn't quite achieved that with their X2. They've created a crossover that has all the bells and whistles and looks the part, but it feels cheap. It feels kind of meh. Whereas the XC40 and this have done a good job bringing a nice premium feel into the entry level in the brand. Let's talk about performance a little bit. This E-Pace has really pretty impressive grip and handling. The brakes are nice. The acceleration is decent. With 246 horsepower, it has a good amount of torque, but once you get to the higher RPMs, your power tends to fall off just a little bit towards redline. But it still pulls decently, still have enough power. It is all-wheel drive, so you've got some drivetrain loss in there as well. But you do have more winter traction when you need it. Everything else seems to be pretty well laid out. You've got a stop-start button right next to you if you want to press that at lights. You do have to press it twice to turn it off fully. Your drive mode selector falls right to hand. Ergonomically, everything falls to hand really easily, really well in this car. Not a whole lot of functions are hidden in the infotainment here in the center dash, which is good because it's kind of a lower placed unit. It's a nice big wide screen, but there's some of the buttons are a little bit smaller. At speed, in practice on the road, sometimes it's hard to accurately press what you want. But I found it to be a pretty responsive and easy to use system. And one thing that I really, really love about this car is the cruise control. So it has radar guided cruise control with, you can adjust the distance and all that stuff, but it's such an easy system to use once you get used to it. So to begin, you just start with hitting the set button. That'll set your speed. There's no system on, system off. And you can increase your distance right here. It all falls to hand super easily. And one thing that I really like about Jaguars too is they also include a speed limiter. So you can set the speed limiter to be, let's say we're going to set it at 74 miles per hour. If I put the throttle to the floor, or at least to the bump before it's all the way to the floor, I won't accelerate over 74 miles per hour. The car won't let me. And then, of course, if I go past that bump at the bottom, all the way down, it'll blow past the limiter. But it's kind of a neat feature to keep you from speeding while still having full control of the throttle and not going into cruise control. It's a feature that's been on Jaguars for quite a while, and I really like it because it's really thoughtful, and it's nothing that I've really encountered in any other vehicles. Get a good entrance ramp here and I can show you guys what the grip is like. There's quite a lot of mechanical grip in this car. We'll put it into dynamic mode, sport mode with the transmission. We've got really nice turn-in, pretty good grip from the front end, a little bit of safe understeer. There isn't a ton of steering feel, but I can definitely hear and feel what's going on with the front tires through the chassis. There we go. I think this would be a fun car to drive on a back road. You definitely have the grip and the response that you need from something that's a little bit sportier. But at the same time, you don't have a super stiff ride like you do in the higher, more aggressive model of this E-Pace. I tested an E-Pace earlier. I think it was kind of I'm not sure exactly what trim it was, but it was this really sporty one. Boy, it was stiff. It was absolutely rigid, and I didn't like it. But this strikes a really, really nice balance between ride and handling, and it's a very good suspension. There is some noise over bumps. You get a little bit of NVH into the cabin, and I think that's probably mostly due to the 19-inch wheels and the low-profile tires, but it's not too bad. It's definitely, I almost wouldn't even bother mentioning it. I've been getting pretty decent fuel economy in this, about 23, 25 miles to the gallon, depending on how I drive and where I drive. You have really tall gearing in the 9-speed, so you end up cruising at about 1750, 2000 RPM on the highway at 70 to 80 miles an hour. I believe this E-Pace is rated for 21 city, 28 highway. And that seems to be pretty accurate according to the MPG readout here. Other than that, this has been a really pretty nice car to drive these last few days. I find it really easy to live with. Once you get comfortable with all the controls, the cruise control, that's probably one of my favorite things about this car, just how easy that is to engage and disengage and use. It's a very intuitive system. It's funny because it's kind of it's a good example of once you get to know a car. When I first started using it, I couldn't figure it out for the life of me, and it was just this foreign thing. But once I put some time in and really got to know the buttons and pretty much the entire car, I really became comfortable with how everything is set up and laid out. Let's see if the auto high beams turn on in here. Nope, they don't. But they do give you a good amount of light on the road ahead of you. Nice turning radius. One thing I like about the Eco mode setting too is it tends to hold gears longer, hold lower gears, and utilize the torque of the engine to pull you out of a corner. In comfort, it's always downshifting and doing so pretty violently. But Eco's a really good driving experience. Let's do a little bit of an acceleration pull here once the light turns green. Throw it into dynamic. I like how the gauges change color too between different modes. The digital dashboard is nice. It shows a lot of different information. You've got your miles to the gallon, your trip info, your distance, your mileage to empty, your average speed. This is a nice car, and it's a little bit pricey, but it's right in line with the rest of the crossovers in this segment. And I think it actually delivers on having a more luxurious feel. You definitely feel like you're in a nice premium car. The only thing is you're a little bit tight on space in the back. For someone who's under 6 foot, I think you'd be pretty comfortable. You'd be okay. Legroom's a little bit limited, but you don't feel too cramped. You definitely squeeze some adults back there, no problem. Set to my driving position at 5'10". Legroom in the back is okay. I'll show you guys a little bit more of an example during the daytime where you can actually see the space back there. Anyway, until then, stay tuned for the day review. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in another video here, I'm sure, very soon. Real quick, while we're sitting here, let me take you on a quick little tour of the infotainment system. So if you want to turn on the heated seats, you've got a temperature button. You can can go into, there's a home screen button. I wish that were an actual physical button, but that's okay. You can select where your air is coming from in the climate control. Nice responsive display, pretty high res. Got a lot of different features here. Full screen map. You can swipe and zoom and pinch. You've got a above 360 camera. Nice sound system. Unfortunately, we can't show that. And you've got this kind of, when you're listening to music, you've got this kind of side view where you can look at your nav, your weather, news. Pretty cool. Nice infotainment. I like the ability to swipe between screens. It's nice and responsive. You've got a lot of things going on in here. All right, there you go. Quick tour of the infotainment there. Anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. We'll see you later. Take care.